Sleepless nights can be an expected part of parenthood, but at a certain point, it really doesn't need to be that way. A lot of people will just say, welcome to parenthood, and they just think that being exhausted and sleep deprived is like a stamp of approval of being a parent, and it really does not have to be that way. So you can improve your child's sleep without sleep training, and maybe parents decide that they don't have time to commit to consistent sleep training. Maybe the thought of their child crying a little bit makes them a little bit sad, or maybe they just have misunderstandings about what sleep training is and can be. And so maybe you landed on this video because you just aren't ready to sleep train, but you still want to make some improvements. So let's talk about some. Let's talk about 10 things that you can do to improve sleep for not only your baby, but for your entire family without sleep training. Number 1 is to set the stage for proper sleep. You need to have a sleep environment set up to be optimized for your baby to get the best amount of sleep that they can in their sleep environment. You need to make sure they're on a firm flat mattress with a fitted crib and nothing else in there. You need blackout curtains and you need white noise. If you're setting the stage for a proper sleep environment, then your child will be more able to connect sleep cycles through the night because they're not gonna have all of this stimulation from lights and maybe other sounds. Number 2 is having a swaddle that fits your baby and it's nice and tight and snug so that you can replicate the womb feeling where they were nice and tight and squeezed in there. If your baby is rolling over, however, then you need to switch to a sleep sack because that will still set the tone for sleep and sleep times, and your baby will associate their sleep sack with sleep time. Number 3 is to start a bedtime routine from the early days. Yes, you can have a bedtime routine from day 1. That doesn't mean that you're sitting there like going through all these steps and reading books and blah, 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 and like singing songs and doing all the things. But when it is sleep time, you need to help your baby learn day versus night confusion and get their body into the habit of doing the same thing before sleep every single night. So maybe that means you change their diaper, put on pajamas, put on their swaddle or sleep sack, and then if you're still rocking your baby to sleep, then rock your baby to sleep, but you have a routine. So yes, you can have a routine from day 1, and I recommend that you do it. Number 4, I know you're not gonna love this one, but try to avoid feeding your baby to sleep. I know that it's an easy way to get your baby to sleep, but it's a very hard habit to break. If you break the habit when your baby is 2 or 3 months old, then when they're a little bit older, it won't be as hard to break the habit, and your baby will be able to fall asleep independently. Feeding your baby to sleep may not be sustainable for the long term, so if you don't see yourself doing this for months and months and months and years possibly, then don't start doing it at the beginning. Now, of course, disclaimer, when I say at the beginning, I don't mean day 1. I always gave myself between 1 and 3 months of anything goes, and then I would work on independent sleep and fixing any sleep associations that I created. And as a sleep consultant, I feel like that should go a long way because my babies were all sleeping through the night between 3 and 5 months old. So those first few months, don't feel any pressure to implement any kind of like sleep training, sleep strategies, sleep schedules. Just focus on having a routine, and that's all. That's my little tangent right there. Now, number 5 is to pause. This goes for babies who are older than 3 or 4 months old. When your baby wakes in the night, give them 5 minutes, okay? I say this from scientific research. Your brain, when you're going through sleep cycles, is not fully awake. And maybe your baby is crying out, making noise, and they're in between sleep cycles and they're not fully awake. They are not even aware that they're awake, but maybe they let out a cry. And a lot of times parents will rush to their child, but you're actually waking them up. So if you pause for 5 minutes and see if your baby goes back to sleep on their own, you're golden. 5 minutes right there can change your life. So if you want more information on the magic pause, check out this video after you watch this one. Tip number 6 is to get outside and enjoy some vitamin D. If you expose your child to daytime, sunshine, daylight, fresh air, all the things, and they're getting all the vitamin D, you're also helping reinforce their circadian rhythm. When we have the exposure to natural sunlight and fresh air, it is triggering our body to be awake. This is awake time. So 110% get your child outside, even if they're very, very little and you're just going for a stroller walk, you can still get them outside, help regulate their circadian rhythm, and expose them to that vitamin D that we all need more of. Tip number 7. Okay, I'm gonna say it. Get the toys out of the crib, okay? I know that there are some of those like little light up aquarium things, and I was gonna get one for my baby when he was like 6 months old and he was my first kid, and I was like, well, if he wakes in the night and he can just push this by himself and soothe himself back to sleep. No, mama, no. Those lights and sounds are way overstimulating, and the light is actually triggering your child's brain that it is not sleep time anymore. Stop producing melatonin and let's be awake and party. So avoid all of those things. Whether or not your child is a toddler or a newborn baby, let's just not put toys in the crib. Books, fine if they're older and they're toddlers. Stuffed animals, fine. But anything with lights and sounds, absolutely not. Anything at all under 12 months old, when your baby is that young, absolutely nothing needs to be in the crib except your baby. Tip number 8 is to try the soothing ladder before picking your baby up. Now, if you're not familiar with this soothing ladder, you know what I'm gonna say. Check out the video after you watch this one. This video is going to tell you the step-by-step rungs of the soothing ladder, how to help your baby soothe themselves to sleep without having you pick them up. I know a lot of sleep training methods will say that you absolutely cannot ever pick your child up, and that's not necessarily my strategy. I definitely try to avoid picking the baby up by doing other soothing mechanisms first, and then, okay, none of that's working, pick up your child and give them a hug and some love and then put them back down and go to sleep. Tip number 9 is to limit screen time. I know that sometimes it can be difficult, especially if you have a toddler who loves their shows. Now, I feel like that sounds like a grandma, like I gotta watch my program. Your child does not need screen time, and especially before the age of 2 years old, your child definitely does not need screen time. But if they're over 2 years old, just try to limit the screen time 1 to 2 hours before bed. Turn it off. Something that I used to do when my kids was younger was I would let them watch a show or a movie while I was making dinner, and then once it was dinner time, the TV is off, and then we have dinner as a family, and then they start getting ready for bed, and maybe that's when they have bath, and then they have playtime upstairs, like in their bedrooms or something, to just get them in that more of a sleep mentality, and they're not exposed to the screen. I know it's not realistic for everyone, but it is a goal to strive for. Number 10, you know I'm gonna say this, reach out and ask for help. It takes a village to raise a child, so ask for help. Create your village if you don't have one. Find your people, and don't be afraid to ask for help. If you need a break, if you need a nap, or if you need someone to hold your baby while you take a shower, or whatever it might be, it is fine to ask for help. And of course, I'm going to tell you to hire a sleep consultant. Sleep training does not mean cry it out. And if you've tried all of these things and you're still not getting any sleep at night, then it might be time to try something else. Sleep training is not always cry it out. Cry it out is not a sleep training strategy that I use. I am here to assess your situation, meet you where you are, and create you a customized sleep plan that is going to help you get from point A to point B, which happens to be your sleep goals. I'm gonna help your baby get independent sleep without putting stress on you. I am going to give you step-by-step action steps that you need to take to get your baby to falling asleep independently and sleeping through the night. It is a process. It can take 2 to 4 weeks, but 2 to 4 weeks you could be sleeping and going out on a date night because your baby can sleep with whoever puts them down for bed at bedtime. Anyways, I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that your family starts getting more sleep. Please reach out if you need any help whatsoever. I'm always here to help you, and keep blooming. Mwah.